Before You Pledge. Essential information you should know about Black Greek letter organizations and the dynamics of pledging in a culture of hazing. By Dr. Michael J. Winfield, Sr. with a Foreword. By J.T. Ted Childs, Jr. Before You Pledge is a generational step ladder for Black America. It is a necessary look in the mirror. It discusses the evolution of the Divine Nine, the Black fraternity and sorority community. From this book, I have formed an inspiring connection to the community to which I am both proud and ashamed to be a member. I am a member of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity. The Childs family includes 4 generations of Omegas, 2 generations of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and 3 generations of Delta Sigma Theta and Alpha Kappa Alpha sororities. In the world of the Divine Nine, my family has given at the office and profoundly benefited from doing so. I said, I am proudly and shamefully a member. Proudly speaks to why I pledged and valued the experience, the associations, and 59 years of friendship. Interestingly, I was initiated on December 4th, 1964, the founding date of Alpha Phi Alpha. Proudly because the Omega men of Delta Chi chapter in my hometown Springfield, Massachusetts were my extended adult family. Proudly because I was able to follow my dad and have my son follow me into Omega. Proudly because after my dad, the 4 most impactful men in my career were Divine Nine members, 3 Omegas, Vernon Jordan, Earl G. Graves, Sr., and Benjamin Hooks, and the distinguished man of Alpha Phi Alpha, Dr. John Slaughter. All men of distinction, and all of them were very hands-on with me in my professional life. Caring mentors, men who would tell me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear. Shamefully, a member because the hazing experience associated with pledging is not hearsay. It is documented through the folklore of each organization and through multiple lawsuits. That the behavior has been part of our history is not deniable. That it, in some chapters, continues is both true and preventable. Shamefully speaks to why I would not do it again and why I am so willing to be committed to change. Do I believe my pledging experience was beneficial? Yes. Even though I would not do it again. It gave me a sense of confidence and the ability to put perseverance into context, which in turn allowed me to manage the stress I encountered in a tough, competitive, racially challenged society and business environment. However, I believe those accomplishments are achievable without hazing. I accepted the experience because I was following the expected generational behavior of my time. It was a socially accepted example of manhood within Omega. For example, chapter reputational references such as Mighty, Bloody, and Sons of Blood and Thunder were common and revered years later. As both a chapter Basilius and district officer, I came face to face with the aftermath of the following reality. 1. More than half of the living members of my fraternity are not financial nor active with the chapter. Beating neither makes you a good brother nor commits you to brotherhood. 2. Physical acts of hazing are neither hearsay, rumor, nor historical references. They are real. They are now, and they are preventable. Third, we have organizations that have become disconnected from the visions of their founders. None of the rituals of the Divine Nine were anchored in or included brutality. And fourth, we have created an environment of self-harm, and the carriers of the swords of destruction will not be from the outside but from within. In 1974, when I was a district officer, we had a severe hazing incident requiring medical attention. Through a close friend, I had access to our founder, Bishop Edgar Love, and asked if the matter of hazing had been discussed with him. The response was to attribute the following comments to our founder. 1. Frank, Oscar, and I, we loved one another, and it would never have occurred to us to hurt one another or anyone we invited to join us. 2. We gave them the motto, friendship is essential to the soul. What do they think we meant? Third, it was 1911. The Kappas and Omegas were born. There were still slaves alive, with markings on their bodies of the slave master's whip. What kind of foolishness would it have been for one Negro to beat another? In 1964, when my dad was leaving to attend my initiation at West Virginia State, my mom told my dad, "If anything happens to my child, don't you come back." I found out about that discussion 29 years later as my dad's college roommate and I were leaving to participate in the initiation of my son. My mother said to me, "I can't do anything to you. But if anything happens to my grandson, your relationship with me will never be the same. When I told her about our new procedures, that we don't do that anymore, and that I was involved, she said, I have been around Omegas since I was in college. You Omegas are all the same. And she walked away. On December 4th, 1964, following my initiation, my dad gave me a handful of quarters and said, call your mom and tell her you are okay. On January 9th, 1993, following my son's initiation, I gave him change and said, please call your grandmother and tell her you are okay. I was lying. My son was telling the truth. My mom instinctively knew not to believe me, and she was right to be suspicious. Mothers should be able to turn their sons over to us and expect them not to be harmed, particularly not to be harmed in a process purported to teach them about manhood, respecting, caring for, protecting their people, and first and foremost, caring, respecting, and protecting the fraternity. They have a right to such expectations, and we have an obligation to ensure that expectation is met. The problem with our brutality is that still too many are proud of the messaging of the heritage and believe it represents the credibility of that with which they want to be associated. Within our communities, fraternal and aspirants, we need two visible examples of manhood. One, fraternity brothers who will, in a non-negotiable voice, say this behavior will not be tolerated. Fraternal patriotism must include defining brutality as fraternal treason and turning in those who are guilty. And two, candidates making clear that they will not tolerate hazing. If there are not candidates, there will be no hazing. Citizens must stand up to sustain democracy. Brothers and sisters must stand up to sustain the Divine Nine. Most of our Divine Nine have celebrated their centennial. Our current shared circumstances render a second centennial improbable. We will each be destroyed through the court process or through the public deciding we are not worthy of association. Democracies survive through generations of voters. The Divine Nine will survive through generations of people wanting to become members and the society wanting and valuing the contributions of those organizations and their members. Before You Pledge is a creditable effort to confront our history so that we can save organizations that we love and that have made a creditable contribution to the Black community and culture and to our nation. Their intent, purpose, and many of their members are good. If you aspire to be a member and are a current college student or alum, we hope you will consider Divine Nine membership as worthy. Our hope, however, is that your aspiration is anchored in the spirit of the values and principles of your desired organization and make it clear that your aspiration does not, and will not, include tolerance of hazing. You are committed to the required learning of our respective organizations, but not at the price of your dignity or safety. Before You Pledge is written by Dr. Michael J. Winfield, a son of Omega, anchored in the Divine Nine and in his personal life, firmly rooted in the mindset of the historian. Michael has a deep respect for history and gets great joy in using that respect to research, construct, and tell the history of the African American. The Divine Nine should not be viewed as a follow-on to a previously existing white concept. That would be like saying that democracies that followed the United States are like us and should be viewed as copycats. Those nations are distinct and ought to be valued and respected for their existence. The Divine Nine are ours. They were conceived, created as individual visions, nurtured in most cases for over a century, and have become individual monuments of Black achievement. Each has produced enormous contributors and contributions. If you take from this book that we are bad and should be destroyed, then you have missed the point and the perspective about our history, potential, and future. In the course of its existence, the United States has made enormous contributions to all aspects of humanity, but along the way, done its share of bad. The grades are not in yet, and the expectations of future greatness are dreams not yet defined, but known to be strong outcomes of what will be necessary for future social greatness. Nothing less is expected of our Divine Nine. Each organization as an individual entity, and many of its members have made superb contributions to society in general and the Black community in particular. Divine Nine future greatness is expected, and for those achievements to come to be, mistakes must be acknowledged, corrected, and men and women anchored in the values of our founders must emerge. Nothing less can be tolerated because the greatness of our people requires such performance. A great nation, a global anchor for democracy, cannot be such unless the black spoke in its wheel does its part and delivers its share of that greatness. The Divine Nine is a major spoke in that wheel. We are the black folk who went to class, but we must act like college-educated people. That is why I said, shamefully, is compatible with I would not pledge again. In 1964, I was 2 years out of high school and not thinking like a college man. Today, I am obligated to think like such a man, and he would not be able to justify to himself, his family, particularly his grandsons and granddaughter, or others who will respect his judgment any justification for subjecting himself to abuse in order to be a member of any organization. Most importantly, he would be expected to be a voice against such behavior, as our look in the mirror. Before you pledge demands that voice be delivered verbally and through action with the assurance that the voices will be heard and the action seen. J.T. Ted Childs, Jr., 2022. Theta Psi, West Virginia State, 1964.
Diversity strategist J.T. Ted Childs, Jr. graduated from Classical High School in 1962 and received his BA in psychology from West Virginia State University in 1967. Childs is a member of the Board of Trustees and past West Virginia State University Foundation Chair. He is a member of the Executive Leadership Council, YELC, and the Families and Work Institute Board of Directors, was installed as a Fellow of the National Academy of Human Resources in 2001, and has served as co-chair of the National Council of Jewish Women's Work Family Advisory Board. Childs holds life memberships in the National Association of African Americans in Human Resources, the National Council of Negro Women Incorporated, the National Organization of Women Now, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, the NAACP, the Sierra Club, and the Bass Anglers Sportsman Society. We hope you enjoyed listening to the reading of the foreword to the book, Before You Pledge, written by J.T. Childs, Jr., as read by Davis Edelson. One cannot help but be moved by his words and the wisdom they convey. This presentation was brought to you by Quest Excel Multimedia LLC. That if you would like to learn more about Black Greek letter organizations and their incredible rise to prominence in the early 20th century, as well as discover more about the 10 organizations that make up the League of Friendship, inclusive of the Divine Nine, please consider purchasing a copy of Before You Pledge, essential information you should know about Black Greek letter organizations and the dynamics of pledging in a Culture of Hazing by Dr. Michael J. Winfield, with a foreword by J.T. Childs, Jr. available on Amazon.com. Or, you can leave a message on the message board at www.questexcelmultimedia.com. Please include your contact information, and we will take it from there. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.